Hey guys, Luke here from Hands and Heels again. Just doing the preview show for Caulfield tomorrow. So we've got Caulfield Cup Day, big days racing at Caulfield. I'll run through all the races. Some races we're going to spend some more time on than others, of course. I'll try and keep it short and sharp. I don't want to ramble on too long. I know it can be a long viewing, so I'll try and keep it short and sweet. So we'll get on to race one, straight into it. I haven't really done the form in this race. It didn't really interest me. So 3-year-old fillies race. Looked at the field. There's nothing there that I've followed or know much about, and I just didn't really feel the need to interrogate the race further. So I'll sit back and watch. Maybe there's something there that will catch my eye from a futures perspective that I might want to follow going forward, but nothing I want to play. So I'll sit out the first. Race 2, the Gothic Stakes. There's a couple I was interested in at the top of the sort of the toppies. Snitzer Peg, last start distance winner, no knock on him. Beau Jess down from Sydney, so we're not quite sure how that form's going to stack up, but a lot of the time the Sydney form does stack up quite well. But he's not coming out of the elite race like the Golden Rose, he's coming out of the Roman Consul. But I'm pretty sure Viridine's a pretty handy horse, the winner of that race, and Single Bullet is pretty solid horse as well. So he's obviously got claims, especially stepping up to 1400. He finally gets a distance that appears to suit after coming back to 1200 last start. Eclair Sunshine, in my opinion, probably comes out of the strongest races because he comes out of the Guineas Prelude and he's crossed the line around the mark with Royal Symphony, who is heading to the Cox Plate now. That was confirmed during the week. He's been competitive in those races. He stays at 1400, so he's got big claims. And then the other one I was interested in was Wassergeist. So he is big odds at $18. I had a flatter in the Stud Stakes and he was poor. He was given a good ride by Hugh Bowman, but he was poor. But it's since been found out he pulled up lame. So he had an excuse there, and I'm happy to forgive it. He obviously had an injury. Before that, he was a 1400 metre winner at Sandown. Quite impressive, leading all the way, and he gets gate 1 and Bowman here. So he maps beautifully, but third on the rails, potentially leading, I'm not sure, but definitely on pace. Good jockey on board, and don't need a lot on at $18 to find out whether he's up to these. So here's my play in the race, Wassergeist each way, and I've also had a bet on Eclair Sunshine because I thought his form lines were the strongest. Like I can see Beau Jess as a chance down from Sydney, but I thought $3.50, thought he was a little bit short. And Snitzer Peg, no knock, $8 chance. You can't back them all. So I've gone with Eclair Sunshine and Wassergeist each way in race 2. Race 3, we'll get on to the Ethereal Stakes. Group 3, 2,000 metres for the fillies. So I'll run through the chances. So we've got One More Honey, top of the market. She comes out of the Flight Stakes, and that's very strong form for this. That's form around Elysee. Champagne Cuddles, who was second in the Golden Rose. So that's red hot form. A couple of queries. So first time in Melbourne, first time Caulfield, and a question mark on the trip. So her breeding a little bit questionable in regards to 2,000 metres. She should get a soft run from Barrier 1 and Blake Shin. Look, once again, you've got to put not putting a pen through her, but you can't back all of them. I want to set myself up. I don't want to back 5 runners in a race, so I'm going to oppose One More Honey just on those queries. Going to stick with the Melbourne fillies with breeding and running patterns that suggest that 2,000 is going to be right up their alley. So the one I'm interested in is Hyam. She fits that, ticks those boxes I mentioned. So she's only going to have her 4th start. She's only had 3 starts, and she was very good a couple of weeks ago at Flemington behind Bring Me the Roses, who's now, I think, second favourite for the Oaks behind Aloysia. And she's got a lot of upside, so I think she can improve out to 2,000 out of High Chaparral and I can't remember the mother's name, but she was bred to get over further than 1,600. And the way she raced, she sort of leather and lace went straight past her, but then Hyam sort of fought back again, boxed on and kicked back in the 2nd spot. So that was a really good sign of a horse that's looking for more ground. She gets a good mid-gate here, barrier 8, and I think she can be in the finish at $8. So each way play there. Pinoir, deserved favourite. Last start, 1800 metre winner by 4 lengths. Barrier 19, bit of an issue, but I think she's a go forward horse anyway. She might be able to cross easy enough. Obviously a chance she does get a little bit posted, but deserved favourite, no knock at all. Once again, I just looked for a little bit of value outside of the favourite in open race, where a few of them, these lightly raced fillies, can improve. So I was looking outside of a favourite in the $4.50 mark. So go down to Teodora. Teodora, once again, lightly raced as well. 2 starts for 2 wins. Darren Weir Yard, Mark Zara ticks a few boxes there. Out of Teofilo, so she should appreciate the 2,000 metres. And I can understand why there's interest there. The issue I have is that she's heavily up in grade. So she's coming out of a benchmark 64 at Bendigo, an impressive win. But this is now a Group 3 Saturday class race, and she's taking on her and One More Honey. They're form lines of chalk and cheese. You get a similar price for both. One More Honey coming out of the Group 1 Flight Stakes, and then you've got Teodora coming out of the benchmark 64 at Bendigo. So bit of a contrast there, but Teodora's the one with the upside and the ability. Not the ability, just the confidence that she's going to run well over 2,000 metres. But I thought she was a little under the odds based off the race she's coming out of. So that'll take us to... Sorry. Where are we? There we go, sorry. So, and the other chance I thought I had was Think Diamonds. Over the odds, $26, and she was second, but she was runner-up behind Pinoir in that 1800 metre race at Flemington. So she was beaten comfortably, 4 lengths, but she did cover a bit more ground. Pinoir saved a bit of ground, and Think Diamonds gets McAvoy here, probably the best jockey in the country at the moment. Not sure she can win. There's probably a few others that I mentioned earlier that have her covered, but I think definitely a $7.50 to play, so I think she's worth an each way play. So I've had a smaller play, Think Diamonds each way, and sort of the main play of the race, High M each way. You can make a case for a few. That's the way I'm playing. We'll go to race 4. So the Ladbrokes Classic, the 2,000 metres for the 3-year-old males this time, Colts and Golding, so pretty much the equivalent race. But for the boys, most of them on a derby path. Of the chances, we'll go through the Melbourne form first. So we'll look at Cliff's Edge and Main Stage lined up against each other over 1,800 metres at Flemington last start. Main Stage did get the better of him. Cliff's Edge led. Main Stage was sitting last, so both opposite ends of the running position. Main Stage was flattered by the hot tempo. Cliff's Edge did go along very quickly, and Main Stage was entitled to run on, but it was still very impressive nonetheless, because he made up a stack of ground. It was powering away at the end, and 2,000 metres should be right up his alley, being out of a reliable man. Cliff's Edge, if this was at 800 metres again, I'd be very keen to back him, because Caulfield's going to suit a bit better. Shorter straight, less chance for the back markers to run him down. And, probably a softer temper this time round would see him give a big kick and have a bit more in the tank at the last 50 metres. But he is up 200 metres to 2,000, so I think this is getting to a distance range that's really going to be pushing him. I think they deserve to be pretty even in the market, Main Stage and Cliff's Edge, just based off those pros and cons. So I think in Cliff's Edge's corner, he was a bigger run last start. Caulfield's a better track for him, but I think in Main Stage's favour, he'll be closer in the run from gate 1, and I think the extra 200 metres will suit him more so than Cliff's Edge. So they're both about $4, and I think that's the right price. Tavistock Abbey's the one you can get a line through Main Stage. So Tavistock Abbey didn't run in that 1800 metre race, but ran in another 1800 metre race to start before and beat Main Stage. So you can get a line through those two there. The argument for Main Stage would be that he improved off that run and subsequently ran a better rating last start. That's probably the case, but I think Tavistock Abbey also, who's only had 4 starts, has the potential to improve up to 2,000 metres being out of Tavistock as well. So I thought he was a bit of value at the $6 mark as opposed to Main Stage's $4, considering he beat Main Stage on its merit the start before. Will Matt well from Barrier 4. And the other one in the market is Tangled. So Tangled comes out of the Spring Champion Stakes in Sydney. Group 1 race. That race is never normally the strongest Group 1 in the world, but it was a good run nonetheless. He only tackles his 4th up, but my query with Tangled is that he hit the Spring Champion on the 1 week backup. So I'm thinking that potentially he was set for the race. And whether he's bounced out of the race, I'm not sure. Chris Waller was quoted as that he's not likely to go to the Derby, so I'm not sure what to make of that, whether he's showing signs of training off. But that form line is pretty strong. We just don't really have a gauge on how to tie it in with the Melbourne form. So they've kept him pretty safe in the market at 370. First time Caulfield, that slight query I mentioned about whether he peaked last start. I'm happy to let him go around without me. Once again, you can't back all four of the favourites. You've got to take a stance. So I wouldn't be surprised if he won, but I'm going to be against Tangled at the price. Eshtirak surely can't win. I've done my money on him a couple of times this prep. I won't be the happiest customer if Eshtirak can pull something out of his backside. Ataraxia is the other one from Sydney, has upside as well. Was winner of the Dolcify, which Tangled was in, but Tangled gave it a lot of weight, was unlucky, and subsequently ran well at 2,000 metres. So if you're going to take any Sydney form, I think you'd have to have Tangled over Ataraxia. So just Tabby Stock Abbey at this stage for me. Maybe if I had to back another one, I'd be looking at Main Stage potentially. But we'll see how we go tomorrow. We'll watch the fluctuations. I'll hear from some of the guys in the mounting yard to see what they think as well. So we're going to race 5, the Coogee Cup, 2,000 metres, Group 3, older horses. A sign probably is the benchmark here because he comes from the Turnbull Stakes, which is the Winx race, where she won by 8 lengths. He was not far away from Ventura Storm and Humidor, who are both running in the Caulfield Cup. So it's pretty good form for this weaker race. Bowman goes on, and he'll go forward and give them something to catch. So he only hits his third up as well. So he's arguably got improvement from his last start. He's going to be hard to beat. The query I have is the Lloyd Williams stable. We saw Aloft and Foundry run pretty terribly last week. No other way to put it. Not sure. Obviously, a sign's a different animal altogether. But there's a query on how that stable is going at the moment. So we'll turn it around. You can see it's a chance coming out of the Toorak, dropping from Group 1 grade to Group 3 grade, stepping up to a distance it's performed well at. Tricky barrier. I couldn't really find an edge on its price, but definitely a winning chance. I'm going to be opposing Morris and Spectroscope coming down from Sydney. Morris is very inconsistent. I've found it very hard to catch the horse even when he's running on well, say second up, and you think he's going to peak third up. I'll put in a flat one. Spectroscope, I just think is going very poorly, and I think is poison odds here at $5. So coming out of Newcastle races, wasn't able to get the job done behind God Unders. Wasn't able to finish close enough. It was beaten by Emily, classic uniform last start. And you can make excuses, you can say it's tempo related, but at the end of the day I think Spectroscope's getting beaten up by mediocre horses. Maybe he needs a sting out because he did perform quite well in the autumn over on wet ground, sorry. But I just don't think he's going that well. And first time coming down to Melbourne, I'm going to have to be against him quite heavily. Samavare, deserved favourite, comes out of the strongest races along with the sign. But I have a question mark on her preparation. She's gone 1400, she improved dramatically going up to 1600. And then she ran a mighty race in the Naturalism behind Harlem, third up. So I think she ran second and third up very well. Last start she disappointed. I think she rated worse than what she did third up. But she did have an excuse because she was 2,000 back to 1,800. And she on the 1 week back up as well. And she raced on a pretty hot speed and faded, which she was entitled to do in a hot race. I don't know whether she's bounced out of that. I'm saying it's a pretty taxing schedule there, the 2,000 metres of the Naturalism, where she ran up on pace in a pretty fast run race. And then a week later, she was one of the pace setters of a Group 1 weight for age Underwood Stakes. So that could have taken a fair bit out of the horse, and she draws barrier 11 here too, so she could have speed map issues. She might have to go, wouldn't say go forward, she might have to go right to the front here from barrier 11, otherwise she might get posted, or go right back, and that could be a problem. So I wouldn't be surprised if she won, but I'm not going to dive into $3.40 for those reasons mentioned. Kiri is the one that some people might look at Murtoa last start and be against it, but I think he has upside. He's still only had 9 starts, and he tackles this race third up this preparation, and we know Darren Weir third up is a pretty good recipe. Damien Lane, good jockey, and dropped 6 kilos off its last start. So it's rising in class definitely, but gets the 6 kilo weight relief. And third up I think will improve and should be ridden a bit closer. Last start at Murtoa, it had 60 kilos, Harry Coffey on board, and was pretty much given no chance. So you've got a number of positives there with the positive jockey change, third up, expected improvement, and a 6 kilo weight drop. So I've had a crack at Kiwi each way. Haven't backed anything else in the race. Probably looking potentially at a sign as another bet in the race to go with my Kiwi bet. So we go down to race 6, the Mooga Stakes, 1400 metres, Group 3. Pretty open race. You can make a case for quite a few of them. Not that interested in all our roads. Does have a chance though. Burning Front improved last start. Still think it isn't near its best at the moment. $8. I'd probably price a little bit longer than that. Go down to Tashby's of an outside chance, but if you look through his form, it's been a little bit disappointing. You can make excuses for him, but overall been a bit underwhelming of late. Orman's the one I'm interested in and I've had a little bet at because I think he's a handy galloper. We saw him start $9 in the Stradbroke in the autumn. First up, he ran in the Gilgai up the straight. It's a complete forgive run. You can pretty much forgive that whole race. It's a very funny race. We had Malibu Style run third and subsequently performed poorly. Kina Ray won the race. He ran quite well on Wednesday with a big weight, but Silent Sedition was in the race, and she's normally a pretty good gauge because she never runs a bad race, and she was flattish, and Ullman wasn't far behind her, and she's a Group 1 winner. So I think Ullman's run wasn't too bad, and 1400 metres is only going to suit him further. And second up, he should improve. Gate 4, Damian Lane, right grade of race. I think at the $7 mark, I think he's a bet. Grand Rosso, first 2 runs his prep were great. In that Ori Star handicap around horses like Hey Doc, I Am a Star, they're Group 1 performers. Then he went and won second up. Last start, he was a little bit disappointing in the Rupert Clark, but that's a Group 1 race. So he stepped right up in grade there, and he sort of rode just behind a Hot Tempo. Faded, now comes back in grade. So I don't know if he's got any improvement left in this prep, considering how forward he was first and second up, and a little bit of a disappointing third up run. So that's the query with him. But I think with Williams Barrier 3, he maps to have a great run, and you can make a case for him. He should probably be in the finish. And then you've got the 2 mares down the bottom, Eckstein and Danish Twist. So Danish Twist probably, I think, is definitely unders. She doesn't mind clocking a closing sectional, but if you look through her form, her last win was quite a while ago now, and she does mix her form. So she'll run a good race. She'll close home hard, and you think, okay, I'll get on her next start, but then she'll be disappointing. She seems to have her issues and performing consistently. Also coming down from Sydney now to Melbourne, Barrier 9 will get back completely against it. Wouldn't be shocked if she won, but at the price, I could definitely pick 4 or 5 other runners ahead of her. Eckstein was unlucky last start in the mares race at the 1400 at Flemington. Probably kept a little bit safe for my liking by bookies. They have a habit of doing this when they find the unlucky runner that runs up a few backsides. They do keep him a little bit safe sometimes, in my opinion. She's a chance. Gate 10, sticky gate as well. Where does she go? She'll probably go back and have to make up a stack of ground. Not sure she can do it against some of these other horses. Echo Effect is the other one I had to play at. So initially didn't catch my eye, but I went and interrogated the replay, and second up he hit the line really well. 1200 is too short for him. They've had a tinker and gave him some blinkers, and last preparation he was an on-speed runner. This preparation he's been ridden back with blinkers. Closed well last start, and last preparation he ran a peak third up. He was beaten. I think it was a Pimple by Man from Uncle, in the Hobartville. Beat Home Coming Through, who's Group 1 placed. That's pretty good form. So if he can run up to that rating, and he's set to do that here, I think third up, back up to 1400, which has been proven to be his best distances so far. So Damien Oliver, Barrier 6, blinkers come off. So I think he'll be ridden forward at a trip that he's set for, third up. So I think at $15, at face value, his form looks disappointing, but pretty much giving you the reasons why I think he's a good bet here at $15. I think he can be a dramatic improver, ridden forward, and be hard to catch. So I've gone with Ullman and Echo Effect each way here. They're my plays in this race. Alright, next race. So we'll go to the Caulfield Sprint. So pretty interesting field here. Group 2 over 1,000 metres. So we've got another number of angles to take, and you could probably cross 4 off in the quaddie. It's not an overly big field, but you can probably still get this. It's pretty easy to get this race wrong, I think. You've got the speed in Super 2 and Snitty Kitty. Out of the two, I'm leaning Snitty Kitty's way, just because she had that first up run over 1100 metres, so she's fit for the 1000. She'll be strong at the end of the race, and she dropped 7 kilos. It's a pretty significant weight drop. She's obviously going up in grade, I can see that, but I think she has a toe to at least be close enough to Super 2 at the turn. And I think Super 2, while she's been very impressive the last two and is a tearaway leader, I don't think she had a whole lot left in her tank last start at Moonee Valley over the 955. And that track is very sympathetic to on-pace leaders, and that distance was 50 metres shorter than this. So I think she goes up in a harder race with probably potentially a faster speed, a bit more pressure, and I think she could potentially be tiring that last 100 metres, and I think Snitty Kitty is the one that's going to be close enough that she can get over the top. So I'm paying Snitty Kitty just outright at $4.20. Property's a query runner, talented 3-year-old, but did pick up an injury at the end of its preparation. So its form is quite strong around horses like Catchy, Formality, Tulip. We know that's competitive at the 3-year-old level, but there are a couple of question marks. How well has he come back? Has he improved? Is he any better? We're not sure. How's he coped from the injury? He had an injury problem, that's why we haven't seen him for a while. And how's that form actually stack up? How do these new 3-year-olds, how are they going to measure up against the older sprinters? We saw Tulip run quite well in the Everest, but she did have a fast lane. Hootson wasn't disgraced, so maybe that 3-year-old form isn't too bad. But big queries of Property resuming. I'm happy to watch him go around. Unless you have insider knowledge of how he's working at home, I think you're crossing your fingers that he's come back a better horse, and I'm not sure he has yet. Target race is the Coolman as well, so he won't be at his top. Battle Hoss and Fardana are the ones that will get the run behind the speed. Both each way cases, I wouldn't talk anybody out of backing either each way. The one I've gone with is Fardana. I think he was very unlucky in the Moya first up, so they obviously had him pretty forward, ready to win a Group 1 first up. Didn't have any room along the running rail. Caulfield's probably slightly better track for him. His 1,000 metre record isn't great, but I think it's more of a coincidence rather than that he doesn't like 1,000. I think he's a high cruising horse, and I think 1,000 will actually suit him. I just think he's been a victim of circumstances, or he's ran up the straight and things like that, which make his 1,000 metre form not look so good. But Barrier 1, Bowman, I think he'll just sit third on the rail. He'll tag those two leaders, Super 2 and Snitty Kitty, and I think he'll be finishing hard and be hard to hold out. He's definitely got coming out of the strongest race for this, and he's $9. I think definite overs there. And Battle Hoss is running super, absolutely flying. Great map with Kieran McAvoy and board. Will tag the front three. And the only query is 1100 back to 1000. Maybe they run him off his legs a little bit and he's a bit too far back. And the other query is he's also up in grade as well. This is the hottest race he's contested. So you've got a query of whether he's up to it, A, and then B, whether the 1100 back to 1000 is suitable. So, but he is flying. So I've had a go at Fartnar each way there, and I'm yet to back Steady Kitty, but I'm going to be on her because she's going to be that on-pace runner that I prefer. Alright, so we're going to the big one. Caulfield Cup, 2,400 metres, Group 1 handicap, $3 million. I'm not going to go through every runner. If you want to have a look at my breakdown of every single runner in the race, I've got it on the Hands and Heels Facebook page. So I've done a breakdown and my top 4 selections in order and suggested betting strategies. So that's a comprehensive write-up of the Caulfield Cup, but I'll just run through the main chances. We're going to oppose Humidor. He's obviously got the class, not doubting that. I just think last start he was a bit flat in the Turnbull, and he's also 2,400 metres. I think he runs it, but to date he's had his best runs have been 2,000 metres and 1,600 metres. So he hasn't quite ticked the 2,400 metre box yet. Last start was a flop, like I said. Not so much a flop, but a little bit flat. He's also giving weight to some handy horses, so he's a top weight, even though he hasn't got a massive weight. He's giving weight away, and he's away from Flemington, and his best form, his 2 Group 1 wins have been at Flemington. So I think for a horse that's $8, I think he's got a few too many negatives. But I wouldn't be shocked if he won, so definitely got the ability. Johannes Vermeer is in my top 3. A huge run in the Caulfield Stakes last week, first up in Australia. He zoomed home, great closing sectionals. On the 1 week backup, and some people might look at that and say that's a query, but the thing is he's handled a 1 week backup before in his career. I think that was when he won his Group 1, so the fact that he won his Group 1 on a 1 week backup, and they've also targeted the 1 week backup into the Caulfield Cup here, suggests to me that that's when the horse races its best. And if he improves off that Caulfield Stakes run, they won't beat him. So the query with him is Barrier 2, they've announced they're going to go ride be ridden pretty positively in the top 5 or 6 runners, which is different to how he was ridden in the Caulfield Stakes, where he was back and came around them. So my query is he as effective on the inside? Is he as effective on pace? Is his 2400 metre form as good as his 2000 metre form? Is there a chance, even though he has performed well on the backup, is there a chance he's a bit flat? There's a few small queries, but all in all, he ticks a lot of boxes. He drops 4.5 kilos as well, and he's going to be very hard to beat. John Snow, I think he's there or thereabouts. He's going to be on pace. He runs 2400. He's coming through the weight for age races. I think he's a definite, I think he's a moral to finish top 7. Whether he's got the class to win, I think there's a good chance he's going to find a couple of these X-Factor horses a bit too good for him. We'll go down to Ventura Storm. I think he's the forgotten horse. So you've got Humidor at $8 and you've got Ventura Storm at 12, and I think Ventura Storm will beat Humidor home. I'm pretty confident in that in this race. There's a few question marks in this race, but I think that's something I'm pretty confident on. He beat Humidor home in the Turnbull. I thought Humidor had everything set up for him to perform to a peak. 2,000 metres, 4th up at Flemington. I just thought, coming off a personal best in Maccabi Diva, I thought Humidor was ready to run a mighty race. Ventura Storm, still getting fit. He was 3rd up. He tackles his 4th up now. And I think, arguably, he's got more improvement than Humidor. He's won at 2,400 and he's won at 2,500. So I read today, I think the 2,200 metres or further, Ventura Storm has had 4 starts for 3 wins in a second. So he's an out-and-out stayer. He's set for the Melbourne Cup, so he might not be quite at his top. That's the issue. But if he's going to be running well in the Melbourne Cup, he's going to have to be pretty competitive here. And I think he's a very good each-way bet at $12. I think he maps well, barrier 4, and he should just improve off his Turnbull run, which was almost good enough in itself. If he repeats that run, he's probably going to be in the finish. If he improves, he becomes a pretty good winning chance. Inference, I can see it's an outside chance. He does tick some boxes. He drops in weight. He finds himself in a handicap. He's run well at 2,500 in a derby. So the distance is no problem. The Hawks can set their horse for a grand final, and he's got that barrier 11, which will get that midfield with cover run to swoop. I just think whilst he's running on, I just think he's not looking likely. You know, those tease horses that just seem to run on, they're just there poking along. Not sure he's a winning chance. His Randwick Guineas win was on a heavy 10. His best runs have been on soft tracks apart from that Derby run. I just don't think there's enough substance to his form, and he's losing margins to be having a bet there. But look, if he wins, I can see the angle that people will take. So we've got Single Gauge. She'll try her guts out, but I think she'll ultimately find a couple too good at least. Bonneville's a very hard runner to get a gauge on, because I had a near moral before the Caulfield Stakes. I thought, how are they going to beat this thing in the Caulfield Cup? She's winning. She's beating them at 1,600, 1,800, 2,400 to her trip. Lightweight McAvoy. How can they beat her? But last week she was disappointing. She was beaten 4 lengths. They reported her lame, so they said she pulled up lame. But the stable have said, Murray Baker said that there's nothing wrong with her, which is strange. So he's disagreeing with the vets and said there's nothing wrong with her, but the vets had her, even a lame, rated 1 out of 5 lame, Thursday morning, which is 2 days before the race, and that's a huge red flag. She has been past fit to run, so whatever it is, she's drifted from $6 out to $9, and definitely entitled to off that news. So the question I have with Bonneville is there's 2 things. So A, if she actually was lame, that's not ideal at all a week before your grand final. That's a negative. And if she wasn't actually lame, then what was the excuse for the 4-length defeat in the Caulfield Stakes where she should be running towards her peak? So I think it's a negative either way, her last start run. But if before that, look, you can't write her off, because her 2,400 metre form's exceptional. She gets McAvoy, and I think she's a very classy runner as well. She's a dual Group 1 winner already. But I've got to take a stance, and I've got an early ticket on her, so I'm going to be holding on to it. But my current view on the race the night before is that I'm going to be against her because of that injury in that last start performance. We'll skip down Harlem's. So the thing with Harlem, he was disappointing last start. He's an interesting runner because he ran a very good race in the naturalism, a big peak, 2,000 metres, beat them comfortably to get into this race. But then he was disappointing in the Bart Cummings. So he was flat. I'm not sure what to make of it. Maybe they were just sending him around to to build some fitness, just send him around for his main event here. The positives for him, he's probably the best weighted runner in the race. He gets down to 51.5 kilos. And he gets barrier 1 again. And that was the barrier he had when he won the naturalism. And he maps well for a suck run again, just behind the pace. And Caulfield was the scene of the crime for the naturalism. So he gets back to the track of his best performance in Australia. He gets that nice soft run for lightweight. Just the query is that last start performance. Like Emily Starr beat him by about 4 lengths, I think 4 to 5 lengths. So why can't she beat him again? That's another angle you could take with it. So I've got a $41 ticket. Sorry, not 61. $41 ticket mid race in the naturalism because I thought he was going to win. So I'm crossing my fingers and hope he runs well, but I've virtually got no idea with the horse. Emily Starr, I think she's a horse I can be confident that's going to run well. So her form over the distances are great as well. So 2400 and up, she's 3 from 3. She's undefeated over 2400 or further. Her Bart Cummings run was great. She beat Mandan, she beat Harlem. I will state that they were below par, so that it's not like they ran at their top and she was too good for them. They were below par, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and she did it quite stylishly. She gets down to 51 kilos too. Darren Weir's going to have a cherry right. The issue I have with Emily Starr is the speed map, barrier 13. Darren Weir's come out and said that they don't want to go back because this is her grand final and it's pretty hard to win from those last few horses, and I agree. He sort of stated midfield cover would be ideal, but I don't think that's going to come easily because she's got that wide gate. She could get posted. I wouldn't mind seeing her go forward. Not to lead, but I wouldn't mind seeing Williams rev her out of the gates, especially with that 2,500 metre run under her belt. She's rock hard fit. I don't think she's going to be suspect at the end of the race. Try and get into a position close to the rails, and then you can sort of go to sleep and maybe another couple of ones go around her. Like Rising Romance is the ride that James McDonald gave Rising Romance in this race a couple of years ago. I remember she had a wide gate. He went straight to the lead, sat on the rail, put it asleep, and let a few others go around him, and he just had that 3rd or 4th run, suck run on the rails. I think I'm clutching at straws there hoping that happens, but if Williams can go forward, he might be able to find a decent spot. So overall, out of the race, there's a few other outside chances outside of that too, but they're the ones that I sort of profiled. I've gone Ventura Storm each way and Emily Starr each way. I think they have the least negatives, and we get an each way price on both of them. So we'll go down to the Tristark now, Open Mares race. Fox Play. So Fox Play is obviously probably the benchmark here. She comes out of the Winx races, happy clapper form, solid Group 1 stuff. Back to Mares Grade here. The queries with Fox Play is she's coming down from Sydney. She's only had the one run in Melbourne at this track in the 1,000 Guineas last year. And she ran okay, but she was a little bit disappointing in that race. So how does she go the Melbourne way? She's 1,600 back to 1,400 as well. Now 4th up, so probably doesn't have a whole lot of upside, but she probably doesn't need to improve either. At $4.80, I was happy to look elsewhere because it's such an open race. It's a good chance the speed's hot and something can swoop down the outside. I'm looking for something at a bit of value in this race. But she's obviously the benchmark. Global Glamour, I haven't seen her for a while. She's had a long spell, and she deservedly so because she was up for so long last preparation. 2 trials. It's pretty hard to get a gauge on how fit she is. She's also got the wide gate. Can she get across without spending much juice? Because she's first up 1,400 metres in a pretty strong race, I suspect she'll be pretty susceptible the last 100. But she can't be discounted, and she's $11, so I think she's a reasonable price for a galloper who's a dual Group 1 winner. So you can make a case for her each way. Silence Edition, I like the mare. She's a Group 1 winner as well. Going to be against her just because of the gate. I was looking to find Silence Edition after her Forgive run first up. She was out of that Girl Guy, like I said, I think when I was talking about Ullman earlier. And she wasn't suited. It was a bit too short for her. Now up to 1,400 metres back to Mares Grade. But gate 18, I don't know what Malian does from out there. She'll probably have to go forward. But in such a open race with every runner almost having a chance, you need things to go your way. And at $7, I'm going to oppose Silence Edition from that gate. We go down Savannah and Moore. I've been on at fat prices the last 2. She's been underrated because she's from an unfashionable stable. She's 1 from 1 at 1,400. Not sure it's her best distance though, because she was running on empty the last start at 1,200, but she did set the speed, so I could perhaps be a bit forgiving there. Now or Later and Marius, that you can tie them in together. I think they're both winning chances. They were the Quinella in the, I think it was a Blazer 2 weeks ago at Flemington. So if you like now or later, you've got to like Merriest, or vice versa. If you like Merriest, you got to like now or later. I think now or later is the one with a bit more upside coming into this third up. Craig Williams, definite winning chance now or later if you ask me. Merriest as well should run okay. Ravi, also going to oppose Ravi. I like the mare as well. I think she's a very good mare. But barrier 17, her best forms have been at 1200, so I think she's going to be going back from barrier 17, and she's going to have to try and circle the whole field. Against specialist 1400 metre horses. How can she beat a horse like Foxplay if Foxplay's a couple of lengths ahead of her in the run? If she goes forward, she's probably going to spend up too much juice, and she might be running on empty at the end. So that's $7. Going to oppose Ravi as well. Already spoke about Merriest. Good each way chance. Sold for Song was good in that Gyor guy, but once, like I said, I'm happy to forgive the poor runs in that race. And I'm happy to tread with caution the good runners. I think she was in the best part of the track. She can be a bit of a blouser, but I'm going to be against her because she's a bit of a non-winner. She's only won 3 times from 22 starts. But $21, I mean, you can make a case for her based off that first up run. Swampland's the one I've backed. That's the only one I've backed at this stage. I'll probably back another runner, potentially even 2 runners because it's such an open race. But Swampland's done nothing wrong. She's finished in the top 2 her last 5. She's beat home Samavare, who's been racing, who raced against Harlem and was competitive. She crossed the line with Oregon's Day, and then she was just behind Sort of Light last start. So this is probably slightly harder again against mares like Global Glamour, Silent Sedition, Foxplay. But barrier 5, I think she's drawn for the soft run. And those runs she was beaten in too, I think she was a bit unlucky. So if she gets clear air room, I think at $18, I think she's a great each way ticket. The one query with her is A, obviously stepping up in class, open field, you can make a case for a lot of them. Why her? The other case is she's been up for such a long time, she hasn't been for a spell. There's going to be one run sooner or later where she's going to train off and she's going to put a poor one in and be due for a spell. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe not. So maybe she's good for one more run. So that's the query, but we're getting $18 once again. So I've had an each way crack there. Last race, Alingi Stakes, 1100 metres, listed race. Nigetta's going to be very hard to beat. Just that form line. If you look at her form line, you look at the weight she's carrying, the draw, the jockey. I mean, she's a moral. She's coming out of races against Red Zell, Chautauqua. These are hot races, coming down to a listed race in Melbourne. She's not even top weight here. She's 56 kilos. Barrier 6 Bowman, $2.30. Based off that, just wins. Queries I have though. Melbourne, first time, Caulfield can be a tricky track. And I've just got a stench about this race. I'm not too sure why. I just have a feeling that, the hot pot in the last race might find one too good. And driving in at $2.30 isn't really my style. I like to find something sort of that $5, $6 or each way odds. Furyk, second in the market. I'm going to oppose Furyk. People can talk about SP prices and starting short prices, but you've got to do it on the track. SP price is one thing, but I don't pay a whole heap of attention to the SP price. I'm more looking at her performances, and her performances have been very disappointing in this prep. Some maybe small excuses, but I don't think she's been hitting the line well. Maybe she hasn't come up. I'm not too sure what's going on with Furyk. She's back in trip as well. Not sure this was a target race. I'm sure they had bigger ambitions for her, and now they've brought her back, changed her goals because of her performances. So a lot of queries there. If she brings her best, she's a winning chance, definitely. But I think she's priced too short based off what we've seen her first 2 runs this prep. So I'm going to be against. Then you've got sort of 3 each way chances there. So you've got Modern Wonder, fit in form, won at Moonee Valley last start. So look, she's stepping up in grade. Once again, if you compare her form lines to Nietta and even Furyk to a lesser extent, she needs to take a big step up here. But Furyk's got the question mark. Nietta down from Sydney. Modern Wonder might be that sort of Stephen Bradbury effort where the hot pots fail. And she's just there doing her thing, rock hard fit, $12 to win, and you can get $3 something to play. So she wouldn't talk you out of an each way play there. Concealer's a queried runner. Couldn't back it with any confidence, but she showed a lot of talent as a 2-year-old. She spent a lot of time off the scene. She's now a 4-year-old mare, so we don't know how she is now. We don't know what calibre of horse she is now, but she definitely had a lot of ability. I wouldn't be surprised if she won, but I wouldn't be surprised if she finished last either. It's just that she's that kind of runner. You wouldn't want to back her each way. She's not a place mile or anything like that. Where Modern Wonder, I think you're more likely to get an honest race from her. But Concealer's probably more of a winning chance because she's got the X factor. Crystal Fountain, unbeaten, so 4 starts for 4 wins. McAvoy on, a lot of upside. Obviously, big things maybe expected of her this preparation, but it's a bit of a leap of faith. She's coming out of a benchmark 70 at Geelong. So if you look at that, so you got Crystal Fountain last start, benchmark 70 winner at Geelong, starting $10 here, and you've got Nieta started $5 against Red Zell 2 starts ago. So it's chalk and cheese in the form lines. But I guess Crystal Fountain's got the one. If you're backing Crystal Fountain, you're expecting and hoping that she's improved and she's got a lot of upside going forward. So I haven't had a play in the race. I'm not sure how I'll play it. Nieta the one to beat. Opposing Furyk. Not sure whether I'll just back Nieta or whether I'll find one of those each way odds, Modern One Day Concealer or Crystal Fountain each way odds, or I might sit out altogether. I'm not too sure there's an edge in the race. So that's the conclusion of race 10. So that'll pretty much wrap up our video. Hope it's been informative for you. Once again, this is just my opinion. My opinion isn't gospel. We get us form analysts, we get it wrong quite often. We're going to get it wrong more often than we're right. But I just try and set myself up so that when I'm right, I'm getting paid quite well. And yeah, once again, you can't back them all. So if some of your selections different to mine, no problem at all. Doesn't mean it can't win. So take it with a grain of salt. My opinions. Have a great day. Enjoy the Caulfield Cup. I'll do a short round week video. There's not a lot happening at round week, so it'll be on the short side. But stay tuned. Round week preview coming next. Thanks.